the British actually purchased grain that the Bengalis could barely afford to buy in order to ship it to Europe, not to aid the war effort, as his defenders claim, but to boost the buffer stocks in the event of a future possible invasion of Greece and Yugoslavia. People started dying, and Churchill said, well, it's all their fault anyway for breeding like rabbits. He said, I hate the Indians. They're a beastly people with a beastly religion. Australian ships were docking in Calcutta port and were ordered by Churchill and his odious paymaster, General Lord Cherwell, not to disembark their wheat, but to sail on to Europe, where their wheat might be used in some future reserve stock, saying that people were dying literally on the streets, and all Churchill could bring himself to do was write peevishly on the side of the file, why hasn't Gandhi died yet?
Wow.
And this is the man the British want us to hail as an apostle of freedom and democracy, when he has as much blood on his hands as some of the worst genocidal dictators of the 20th century.
Oh, by the way, my name is Ashtray.
My name is Dashiki. That's Swahili for doggy style.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Those are my kids.
Hello, everybody.
Now, children, what do you say when you meet a nice man?
Are you my daddy?
Men are taught that they have to make women happy. The fact of the matter is, you can't make anybody happy. You have to make yourself happy. Happiness is a byproduct of achievement. So for women to say that they're unhappy, it's their own fault. Anybody who says he's unhappy, it's his own fault.
Mark,
Everybody has to make himself or herself happy.
You're giving me such a bloody headache. Yeah, I mean, where are you from? Where are you from? Dear Lord, I would never in a million years teach my girls that they have to grow up to be reliant on a man, as you can well imagine. I would never teach my son that he should be attracted.
But Tracy, you're the same one. You're the same one who brags that she's so strong and so tough and doesn't need a man's money. Yet you're taking alimony.
City boy! City boy!
Got him.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Don't find a man online. Oh, don't find a man online. You might think he fine and he won't have a dime. Don't find him online. Hey, hey, don't let him tell you he rich. Oh, don't let him tell you he rich. I know what I'm talking about. You might think he rich and you wind up getting catfish. Don't find him online.
We are the Muslim wing of the black grassroots. Unapologetic, strong, uncompromising voices that have been in the faces of the enemy and those who tap dance for them. The Feachaz is proud to present the archives exclusively on Patreon.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Allah, and may the peace and blessings all be upon his last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hatettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here, And I want to say wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to the brother Bilal. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to brother Mu'min. And who else we got here? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to the brother M.O. And I want you to share this one because this one we are talking about a very, very, very serious situation that is happening in the Black community. And this is something that, of course, we touched up upon, but we have some data. And as you know, over here, we like statistics, we like numbers because numbers don't lie. Numbers do not lie. Y'all hearing me? So we have some shocking numbers that are coming out of the Black community to share with y'all. And furthermore, we have said many times that you as Muslims, especially if you're a Salafi, you should not be invisible to your community because there are consequences for that, for you remaining invisible to your own people. And the consequences are so dire that it will eventually trickle down and affect you directly. Islam in itself is an expansionist religion. It is meant to expand. It is meant to invite people to the truth. That's what the whole goal of dawah is. You know, in Islam, you know, this whole thing that broke out with this, this bootlicker versus medically thing, right? We took a position. We said, your leaders ain't got nothing to do with us. If you want to go fight your leaders, that's fine with us. Don't invite us to it. That ain't got nothing to do with us. In Islam, from what we understand, you have either dawah, jihad, or hijrah. Ain't no such thing as no khuruj in Islam. Do you want to go fight your Muslim leaders? Go ahead and do it. But we have so much here in the Black community to fight. We ain't worried about your Muslim leaders. That's your fight. That ain't our fight. Most of these Easterners came here chasing the American dream in Black communities. So they set up shop, took our money, and totally ignored the Black experience while getting wealthy off of Black dollars. So now we have this insane situation. Absolutely insane. So like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Before I get into this, we want to, for those of you who don't know The Handmaid's Tale, we need to explain exactly what The Handmaid's Tale is, right? So this is The Handmaid's Tale. All right, if you can see, Handmaid's Tale, written by Margaret Atwood. Okay, it's an old book. It's one of my wife's favorite books. Okay, and it is an old novel. And over here in Canada, it's one of those books that is required reading in English classes. So what is The Handmaid's Tale? The Handmaid's Tale is a story that takes place in the future due to pollution and war and all these type of social engineering projects. What happens is, in the future, women can no longer make babies because they are sick with being polluted and whatnot. All right, so America now divides into two separate societies. One society is an old school American society, and the other society is known as Gilead. This is your conservative society. Mind you, this book was written, I think it was written in the 70s or 60s or something like that, okay? So you have a conservative society and you have your mainstream liberal type US society. And then you have Canada, okay? So in this conservative society, What happens in this conservative society is that the women essentially have no rights, and it is incredibly male dominated. And the goal and the purpose of these women is to produce babies. And it is ultra conservative. These are your ultra religious Christian types. Now, does any of this sound familiar today? Okay. Does any of this sound familiar today? Did we not put out that the reason why you have this ultra conservative push in Western countries is because white women are not having babies? Did we not say this? And as a matter of fact, Joe Biden explicitly said this to your old, tired, black, Negro civil rights leaders. He told them that we are not giving you old, tired, black civil rights leaders anything. And because by the year 2050 come around, we, white folks, are going to be the minority, and you, black folks, are going to have to work with the Hispanics. Did he not say that? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Tika. And as I mentioned before, this book, okay, The Handmaid's Tale, this book here is outlining what this ultra-conservative society does in order to produce babies. This place, Gilead, which split from the United States, they had made the rules of the Bible, okay, their main focus for society. So God comes first, and after God comes the man, and after the man comes the wife, and after that they have these women which are called handmaids. And what is the goal of the handmaids? Okay, the goal of the handmaids in The Handmaid's Tale, okay, the goal of the handmaids is to have children for the elite of the society so that they can bring their numbers back up. Y'all hearing me? This is the goal of the handmaids. If you look at U.S. and Canadian immigration right now, they are just, not only are they inviting Ukrainians, but they're giving them the world. And this morning in the United States, Joe Biden explicitly made this bill, which is against Haitians, okay? Telling them that if you show up at our border, we're going to ship you to Mexico, and you will never be allowed into the USA, but rather the only way for you to get into the US is through the proper channels. They never said that for no Ukrainians. Y'all hearing me? They did not say this for no Ukrainians. In Britain, they are shipping the Africans that make it across the Mediterranean Sea alive, because now thousands and thousands and thousands of these boats just keep, people in these boats just keep tipping over. Just, you know, these boats just randomly just sink all the time, and thousands of black bodies are feeding the fish in the Mediterranean Sea. So now they're saying, telling black people to go where? Go to Rwanda. Is all of this happening right now? Why are your conservative white folk acting like this? They're acting like this because they are worried about their numbers. The whole point of racism is not because of some arbitrary feeling. I don't like you because you're black. That's not what racism is. That's prejudice. Racism is about economics and control, population control. That's what racism is. They are trying to control their populations. But what does this have to do with black people? And what is the connection between The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and how is it relevant to black people today? Because Margaret Atwood was clearly writing a story for women, white women, mind you, okay? White women. What does that do with black people? We put this out on this channel. What is the most dangerous place on earth for black babies? Where is it? Somebody put it in the chat. Where are my intelligent black folk at? Where are my intelligent brothers and sisters at? The single most dangerous place on earth for black children, where is it? Somebody put it in the chat, please. Does anybody know? Tika says North America. Thank you, Brother Bilal and Brother Mu'min. Brother Bilal and Brother Mu'min. Bilal says the mother's womb. Mu'min says Planned Parenthood. Both are correct, because the single most dangerous place on earth for black babies is the womb of the black woman. Let me show you something. Do you guys remember the percentage of black people that make up the United States, and not just the United States, but worldwide? What is this percentage through global engineering? What is the percentage of black people supposed worldwide? 13%, right? Between 13 to 14%, correct? Correct? Now look at here. Let me just show y'all something. Let me show y'all something, all right? Reported legal abortions by race of women who obtain abortions by state of occurrence. Who has the most abortions? White women who make up, what is it? I think it's like the white people who make up, I think there's 60% of the population in the States. Somebody can correct me on that. You can fact check me on that. Definitely more than black people. Black people are only 13%. But their abortion rate is 33%, correct? Black people lead everybody else, not even close, by 39%. 39%. Black people who make up 13% of the population in the States are aborting at a rate of 39%. And even after this, even after this, whenever there is some sort of destructive plan against black folk, black people are still right there to fight for that destructive plan and call it rights, like Roe versus Wade or whatnot. But there's more to this story. What did Bill Gates say that the problem is, rather, in Africa? Why are Africans poor? And why are South Asians poor? According to Bill Gates, somebody put it in the chat, please. Somebody put it in the chat. Thank you. Bilal, overpopulation. And what did he go to Africa to do? Did he go to Africa to advise Africans on financial literacy, or to build wells, or to build medical clinics? What was he doing in Africa and in South Asia, for that matter? What was he doing? What was he doing over there? Depopulating, exactly. He started pushing vacations, okay? He started pushing abortion clinics. Not only just abortion clinics, but what you call it? What's the thing when you permanently make? I'm forgetting my words now in English. I'm getting old, man. What's the thing that when you? What's the thing? Sterilize. He was sterilizing women. Sterilizing women. In India, they had. Thank you. In India, they had a massive thing with the sterilization programs, because the Gates Foundation caused the death of hundreds and thousands of women through sterilization. Hundreds of thousands of women died because of the Bill Gates sterilization program through the Gates Foundation. Y'all hearing me? Well, this is how the enemy works. See, our enemies, okay, and the enemies of Allah, they don't just use nice words for their debauchery against you. They don't just come out. They have, they have never ever declared war against the darker peoples of the earth. Never. They just show up and just start killing, stealing. You know what I mean? They just show up and do that stuff. And then they say they're helping the population. Well, one of the tricks of the wickedly wise is to make you think that your debauchery is your culture. I'm going to repeat that. One of the tricks of these devils is to make you think that your debauchery is your culture. Like single motherhood, correct? They want you to think that being strong, independent, Black single motherhood is a part of Black culture, when that really has nothing to do with anybody's culture. That was imposed on us by our enemies. And now we are seeing the tail end of this debauchery come full force. What do you mean, Bilal? I want y'all to watch this with me. Okay? Let me just share this with y'all. 1 second, y'all. Let's watch this, okay? You see, this is why it's so important to stay on code. They have a code of conduct in which they practice for themselves. So you can have a whole bunch of other people who control your music, your entertainment, your media. They control it all of it. You watch it, you consume it. And they send you nothing but absolute debauchery. And then you practice the debauchery because you saw somebody that looked like you practicing the debauchery. You practice it for yourself, and then you call it, this is ours, this is ours. Meanwhile, it's the enemy that is sending you white supremacy and blackface so that you can follow it. And they can turn around and hide their bloody hands behind their back and say, well, it wasn't us. It was you guys who did it. What you mean, Bilal? I want y'all to watch this. Okay? Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Let's watch something, shall we? Now, I want y'all to watch this and tell me if these numbers sound fake or real. Okay? Watch.
Jamaica, as we know it, has a very unique no country can top having approximately 85% being born out of wedlock. No country can top having approximately 85% of children being born out of wedlock. No country approximately 5% of children being born out of wedlock.
How many yardis are being born out of wedlock? Somebody put it in the chat. According to this lady. How many yardis are being born out of wedlock? Do you see the results of not making dawah to your own people? Thank you. 85%. Let's keep watching, okay? We're not done. We're not done.
Over 50% not having a registered father.
How many percent not having a registered father? Somebody put it in the chat. What's the percentage? What's the percentage of Yardi children not having a registered father? Somebody put in the chat. Thank you. 50%. 50% of Yardis don't have a registered father. Let's keep watching.
70% of those tested not being the father. 70% of those tested not being the father.
What percentage of paternity test came back not being the father? Somebody put in the chat, please. What percentage of children getting paternity tested not being the father? Thank you. 70%, correct? My question is to you, do those numbers sound fake or real? Just the sound of it. Does it sound fake or does it sound real? Somebody put it in the chat. Just the sound. Thank you. Sound like cap, right? Sounds fake, correct? It sounds like lies. It sounds like pure lies, correct? Who else want to put a sound fake, sound like cap? What do you think I thought? I thought this was cap. I thought it was lies. Until I went to do my fact checking. And everything that lady said is 100% true. All of it. Let's read some articles, shall we? Let's read some articles. Let me just do this here. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Thank you, Bilal. This is the Jamaica Star. Okay. Are you reading this? Can y'all see this? What does that say? You are not the father. DNA test reveals 70% jackets. A company that offers DNA testing in Jamaica has disclosed that in 70% of their tests, the men who were named as fathers had nothing to do with the paternity of the children. Are y'all seeing this? Are y'all seeing this? Look at this. I'll show you another one. Everything she said is real, and it can be easily found. That's just Jamaica. But what did we say on this channel? We said on this channel that the social engineering of Black folk is not limited to or exclusive for the US. This is an international phenomenon. Didn't we say that? Didn't we put that out? in the States, we put it out here, 72% of children are being born, black children, mind you, are being born out of wedlock. Did you not put that out there? 72%. Then what these people did, they had to redefine what is a family. And we put that out here there as well. And how did they redefine it? They redefined a family now not being a typical husband and wife, but any two adults will be considered a two-parent household. That's how they redefined it. So now you're reading two-parent household and you think it's a husband and a wife, but it's not that. It could be two people shacking up. It could be a couple of lesbos. It could be the grandmother and the daughter. Y'all hearing me? So that went from that redefinition, it went from 72% to 68%. So now, if you think about the numbers in Jamaica, okay, 85% of their children are being born out of wedlock. 85%. That means that 15% of the children in Jamaica are being born inside of what a normal nuclear husband and wife family should be. Correct? Correct? Family, can you run a society like this? Yes or no? Can you run a society like this? Can you run a society where 85% of your children are being born outside of wedlock? Absolutely not. Do you think the enemy knows that you cannot run a society? Do they know that or not? Of course, Aisada. Of course, our music contributes to this. Of course it does. Of course it does. Which was one of the things I was going to mention about Jamaican music. We know very well how influential Jamaican music is and Jamaican culture is, especially on Black people. We know that very, very, very well. And we know how raunchy and disgusting especially the female dancehall artists are. They might as well be men. Doing entire songs about their pum pum and panani and all kind of stuff. Entire songs. And what they can do with their private parts and all kind of. You don't think that this has something to contribute to that? Can you imagine going to paternity and 70% of the men, 70% are not the father? You can't even run a neighborhood. You're right. You cannot even run a neighborhood. Isn't it the same in the States? In Britain? Isn't the same with trap now? This trap music and drill music, drill rap? Who consumes this music and who acts upon it? And who runs the music? And who is defending the music? Who's defending it? So you have rampant promiscuity being promoted internationally as the cultural norm for black folk. What did they do to Africa? Look what they did to Africa. What came out of Africa in the late 70s and the 80s that started killing black folks and dropping them like flies? AIDS, correct? HIV, right? You think that's a fluke? And those of you who know about the HIV virus, the people who have HIV, they become even more promiscuous. You think that's a fluke? You think that's a fluke? Barack Obama became president of the United States 8 years. Did he do a single thing for black folk? No, but he went to Africa. What did he tell the Africans to do? What did he tell the Africans to do? Thank you. To be gay. To be gay. Here's the thing. We are now witnessing almost 3 decades of the products of single motherhood, correct? And this single motherhood, right? This generation of children that are coming up, the children that were born in the 2000s, is the worst that we have ever seen, correct? The worst. By far. You're talking about children who have no remorse and no respect for human life, particularly black life. Jamaica right now is number 5 in the top countries homicide rates. Number 5, Jamaica. Okay. But the thing is, what we are witnessing in Jamaica, because they have all the elements of a perfectly socially engineered country full of black people. And these black people will defend their social engineering. They will defend their debauchery and call it our culture. It's not their culture. It's not. Their culture's been co-opted by people hostile to them. They can't even see it. And now for them, rampant promiscuity is the norm. And it's not just them. It's something that you see throughout black societies internationally. And their children now are coming up from being second and third and even fourth generation single mother households. And do you think that any decent family, from the 15% of the children being born from a married couple, mother and father, want their children to be playing with or keeping friendships with those dusty pukishas. Any person of decency would never allow their own children to keep friendships with the sons and daughters of these dusty pukishas, correct? So if you are someone who is unrestricted in who your children are talking to, that in itself is a proof that you are dusty. Y'all hearing me? So now we find internationally Black people defending every single destructive social engineering project that is imported to them. Now they are defending the alphabet soup. They're the first ones to defend it, actually. They're defending abortion. The first ones to defend it. They defend their entertainment as entertainment, not social engineering. They just defend it as you know, fun and games. And we here, as Muslims, we're out here, we're watching all this go down, but we are joining some Arab somewhere talking about the Muslim leaders. Can you imagine those numbers? Did the Muslim leaders make 85% of children be born in Jamaica from unwed parents? Did the Muslim leaders do that? Or 72% in the States? Muslim leaders do that? Or drill rap? Did the Muslim leaders do that? Or the war on like whatchamacallit? The crack epidemic? The Muslim leaders do that? Did the Muslim leaders set up a system of the model minority so that the minorities can come into the Black community, set up shop and businesses selling Black folk alcohol, you know, malt liquor, loose cigarettes, blunts? Wallahi, in my entire life, okay? In my entire life, I don't know if any of y'all seen it, but in my entire life, I have never, ever, ever seen any Black folk selling blunts from their convenience stores in the Black community. That's something I've never seen in my life. Did the Muslim leaders do that? Maybe some of y'all have. Maybe some of y'all know some of these Negroes. And maybe they exist. I don't know. But I've never seen it. I've seen a hell of a lot of, South Asians do it. Hell of a lot of Arabs do it. Lots. So here's the thing. After knowing all of this, is a Handmaid's Tale needed for Black women? That's the question. Is that what we need now? Because it's only going to be a couple of decades or less until what you see going on in Haiti will be the norm everywhere. Y'all hearing me? Or Is it possible for us to actually call our own people to the truth? It is impossible for any community to function like this. 85%, 70%, 68% of your children being born out of wedlock. How can you have a society functioning like that? How is that even possible? But not only that, you're calling it normal. And you are witnessing the chaos as it happens, but you refuse to make the connection between that and single motherhood, promiscuity, zina, broken marriages. You refuse to make that connection. And as long as you keep this gravy train of white supremacy going, the choices of the people will be very, very few. Either your society will crumble into a permanent form of anarchy and chaos. It's inevitable, right? Or you settle for slavery or some form of it, or some type of slavery, like what's going on in Haiti right now. Slavery part 2. Or you can go the route of the Handmaid's Tale, where you dominate and control these women, usurp any type of rights or autonomy that they have, or, in my opinion, the most logical is calling them to Allah. Calling these people to Allah. You don't necessarily have to mix with them. And we're getting past the point where mixing is a good idea anymore. But if Islam is a solution, and you understand, you see, here's the thing: a lot of people, when they're talking about Tawheed, and this is the mistake I find with black folk, especially with black converts, when they're talking about Tawheed, they're mentioning Tawheed, as a form of refuting the Asha'ira or the Maturidiyya, and that light, you know what I mean? They want to essentially say that, Allah has these attributes and you have to believe in Tawheed and worship Allah only, and things that are related to groups that are not us, okay? Like the Shia, for example, or the extreme Sufis, the grave worshippers. Why are they doing that? Because they see the Easterners doing that. That's their fight. That's not our fight. Everything is Tawheed. Everything is related to Tawheed. Why do we have good manners? We have good manners because Allah commanded us to have good manners. That's related to our Tawheed. Why do we forgive each other? We forgive each other because Allah, He Himself, is Ghafur Rahim, and He loves forgiveness. That's related to Tawheed. Allah loves the best speech. That's related to Tawheed. We don't see it like that. We want to go and argue with other black folk instead of using Tawheed and leveraging it to the benefit of our own people. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Bilal.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, Brother Bilal? You right?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
What you got? Assalamu alaikum, everyone. No, so when I made that comment about we have to at least try and start with Tawheed, my understanding of Tawheed goes beyond Surah Thalatha and things like this. It's the actual practical applications of it. And it's something I've learned from watching yourself and other like-minded da'is and students of knowledge. And like watching, for instance, some of our Talib al-Ilm and our scholars like Mufti Munir, Sheikh Tahir Wyatt, and stuff like that. When you listen to their lessons or their lectures, I've not come away without learning something that's actually practicable, like able to be practiced and implemented in life, and would actually like benefit life in general. So it goes beyond just sitting in the class and reading books, but like actually applying it in action. But yeah. So like I was saying as well, women sort of they perpetuate culture. So like they perpetuate traditions and culture, and they're the ones that are always targeted. If you look at, I was looking at the brother Michael Abraham. He was going through a series of the books in his book is for the schools, like teaching Muslims in public schools. He talks about certain books that they teach in schools to children, and I noticed there was a common theme in all of them. Like they were all targeted at young girls. So like they're trying to basically infiltrate the minds of young women. They're imprisoning and being violent against us, and locking us out economically. And yeah, we are playing 3D chess, as you say. So we need to step up, and only with the help of Allah we'll be able to do that. But that's not to say that we don't do anything, because Allah doesn't change the condition of a people unless they change that with themselves. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, Elijah Muhammad, he had this statement, if your enemy won't treat you right, he's not going to teach you right. You understand? I want you to imagine now if you let's say, for example, like some of the earlier generations were around today, right? Even it doesn't necessarily have to be a Sahaba, it could be Tabi'in, Tabi'in, right?
All right, that's what
okay. Yeah, let's say some of the early generations were around, and some of them were in the West, some Western country somewhere, right? Could you see them trying to convince their enemies not to teach their children in their schools what the enemies want to teach their children in their schools? Like, could you see? You know what I'm saying? So this is what we do, right? We're sending our children to the schools of the enemy. These are our enemies, okay? They're not our friends, but we don't see them like who they are. You know what I mean? And then we are begging our enemies to not teach our children what the enemy teaches. All right?
Yeah,
you
know what I'm saying? Like that's why I made the other comment as well. Because like now, alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we have the youngest demography in the world, right? And this is across any nation. So if we were to pull our kids out of schools, it would basically collapse the system. If we were to pull every athlete out off of a field that's playing sports, no one would watch. It'd be like two people throwing the ball against each other. Like no one would watch anything. Like if when Musa alayhi salam took his people and fled from Fir'aun, what did he and his army do? They followed him because they need us.
Yeah,
we are needed. So, like, I think,
and that's a great point. Actually, that's a great point. We need to be able to
position ourselves. We need to be able to position ourselves, because I don't think Hijra is necessarily the answer without having some sort of tie back here. Because for most of us, we have roots where we are. I think what's going to happen over the next few years, like economically in Europe at least, and I'm sure the same is going to be for the States, it's like we need to position ourselves as Muslims to deal with the fallout that's going to happen societally, because all of this charade and marketing of like the West being the best in terms of like economy and all that sort of stuff, that's going to fall away so fast.
Yeah, of course. You're mentioning if we pulled our children out of the schools, it's going to cause an economic crisis. An educational crisis. We are already in the midst of an educational crisis. We are in the midst of an educational crisis. First, I'm not sure what's going on in the UK, but over here in the West, right? Teachers right now, nobody's going into teaching. They can't. They couldn't replenish teachers that are going out, even if they tried. Okay, it's impossible, right? And this is both in the States and in Canada. In Canada and here in Ontario, what they have done is that they've removed the tenured teacher, style, right? So now if a teacher becomes a teacher, they're not tenured anymore, right?
Okay.
If you want to become a teacher, you're a contractor.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine going through 10 years? Like,
wait. You already don't pay them well enough.
Exactly.
You're going to make them a contractor.
Yes.
With like less rights.
Yes. So every teacher, at least here in Ontario, all of them, they're doing contract work. Right. And they could be on contract for 4, 5, 6 years, and they will never get a 10-year job, right? So who is going to do that? In the States right now, there is a massive strike for post-secondary, like the universities and the colleges. A huge strike, right? And I figure in about a decade or so, right? There's going to be such a massive crisis with education in the West that Muslims now, right, who are coming here because of education, right, they're going to be for the shock of a lifetime. Because even they themselves, no Muslims that come from the East to the West send their kids to school and to go to university so that they can become teachers. Not a single one. They want their children to be either doctors, lawyers, or engineers. That's it. All right. All right. So when there's nobody to teach their kids that, they are going to be in for a shock of a lifetime. You know what I mean?
I wonder with the contracts thing in Canada. So do you think that's so that the state has more control over the education system?
What I think, because you know what, the enemy is very, very evil, very wicked, right? A lot of people don't know this, but do you know why colleges and universities are paid for? I'm not sure if you have it there in UK. If you pay for college.
Oh no, they are.
Okay, but do you know why that happened? Did you know
they become private entities, like separate from?
No. Did you know? Historically, in Canada and in the States, college and university education was free.
Yeah, same as the UK for a while.
It was free until what happened? What happened in the 60s?
Segregation.
The civil rights movement happened. Right? And Ronald Reagan, right? He was the first one out of all Westerners at that time to suggest charging for
a paywall for education. Oh my God.
There you go.
There you
go. Right? What is the number one money generator for both I'm not sure in UK, but in Canada and the States? What is
quite high?
Quite high
universities.
It is. Yeah. It is tuition fees,
especially for international students.
Tuition fees are the number one revenue generator here in the West. Right? It doesn't even come close to anything else. You understand? So tuition fee and interest on tuition fees, right, is a major revenue generator for these governments, right? Because people now are taking out loans from banks to pay these universities for education that used to be free. And every single year, these tuitions go up and up and up. Does the education change? No. Does the system change?
Well,
no.
Actually, I'd say the education actually gets worse because education used to be valuable as well. It's
right. So it's because of Black folk that the whole world has to pay for education now, right? Well, guess what? Yeah, you're welcome, right? Guess what? Right? This whole education system is about to collapse. It is going to crash. It's going to come down crashing.
It's having a soft crash anyway, because a lot in the UK, a lot more people are venturing to go into apprenticeships, which would be like basically paid work.
And we actually said on this channel
those,
yeah, exactly, especially for young black men, let them do trades. Let them do trades, right? You know what I mean? And if you're going to go to university, don't do any of those soft university courses.
Skills, yeah.
Your soft skills. You have to be
something you could actually level up in.
Exactly. Engineering, medicine, especially medicine. There's a medical crisis going on in the West as well, right? There's a huge medical crisis happening, especially since COVID.
Well,
right?
That's more pharmaceutically driven, yeah.
Yeah, well, many nurses here, they left the medical field during COVID.
Same here, actually, in the UK.
Yeah.
Same in the UK.
Yeah. You're right.
They squeeze them out during those 1,000 days.
Yeah. So what they're doing here in Ontario now, right, in my province here, I'm not sure what's going on in Europe, but over here, they're offering free tuition now for nursing in certain cities, paramedic in certain cities, and do you guys have PSWs there? You know, you guys, personal support workers. It's like for old people.
Yeah. We do.
Yeah. They have free tuition even for foreigners. Even for foreigners.
They'll do that, but they won't pay them a fair wage when they're actually
there you go. Well, you know, they get paid well, but because the COVID was such a strain on the system, right? It causes massive crisis, right? So we have an economic crisis coming. We have an educational crisis coming. We have a medical crisis coming. And we are still trying to be dependent on this enemy. How does that make any sense?
Basically, if you look at history, it was called the Dark Ages in Europe for a reason.
Yeah.
What brought them out of that?
Islam.
See, there we are. We're about to enter a new Dark Age.
Yeah.
So what needs to bring them up? What needs to bring us out of it? We need to
Islam.
be that beacon. We need to have that beacon. We're already here.
But we have a very unique situation where Easterners are coming here, and they're not trying to. They didn't come here for Islam to begin with. They came here to be, to
get into the bag.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be in close proximity to whiteness, right? And so much so that their big personalities will say almost anything to capitulate with these people. I heard with my own ears, for example, Dr. Yasser Qadi, right? And I was very shocked that he said this. He said that, practicing birthdays is not haram. And he said,
when you make statements like that, it throws converts like ourselves under the bus.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It throws us all the way under the bus.
We don't do that.
Right now, literally right now, I'm in this strange relationship with my own family because I'm not into this whole Christmas, birthdays, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Then you have Muslim-looking people talking about birthdays are permissible. What?
Yeah. Yeah. Wallah, he said it.
So we need to teach Tawheed, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
SubhanAllah.
And I never heard any other scholar say something like that, not even remotely close. You know what I mean? I consider Yasser Qadi, he's a scholar, right? He's definitely
because of his efforts. No, that's
of course. Yeah, because of his efforts. Because
but then where
he be saying something, he be talking crazy. He be talking crazy, bro.
Where did he study? Because I don't know where he studied.
He studied in the University of Medina. Studied University of Medina.
Okay.
Right. With some big shayukh there, right? So, he was a top student out of Medina. He was top of his class, even more so than the Arab students.
SubhanAllah.
Right. Yeah. So we can't just disregard that he earned that, right? But he be talking crazy, bro. He be talking crazy.
Infiltrator vibes. Let's give me infiltrator vibes.
I don't think necessarily he's an infiltrator, but I do think that he has that type of. This is something that you find Easterners do. They do that stuff. They really do. They want to capitulate. They want to get along with Zaddy. You know what I mean? They want to have this type of kumbaya attitude, right? So they be talking crazy. You know, they would say he himself, he said, you know, if somebody worships at a grave,
Yeah, no, I knew about that one. The Kubur.
Yeah,
I knew about
right.
that.
He's saying that stuff, right? Yeah, exactly. He be calling the Rafida Shia, you know, just a different madhab, and you know, there are brothers and blah blah blah. We may have some different, like this is how we
brothers in humanity.
Yeah, you know, but because we're black, right, and we don't have any natural ties with any of these experiences, we're looking at Islam, and we're looking at that stuff is shirk. Like that's how we just see it. We just naturally we see it like because we came from shirk, right? So we know what shirk when we see it. You get it?
Quacks like a duck.
Yeah, you know what I mean. These are our family members. You know, as a matter of fact, I never in my life seen any of my family members worship at a grave. And if they seen it as Christians, what do you think they're going to call it?
That's idolatry, man.
You're not going to call it idolatry. They're going to call it shirk. They're going to call it shirk.
Straight up.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salaam Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He's just connecting his audio. But in the meantime, what do you reckon about like Project 2030?
Project 2030?
You know, in Saudi.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's going to have a massive brain drain eastwards.
Well, when I was in Saudi, right?
What years were you there? Because you were there for what, 9 years, right?
Yeah, I was there for 9 years. So I came back in 2016. So just do the math from 9
years. Yeah, 2005. Right, cool. 2007. Right.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, right. 2 years after I became Muslim.
Right. So when I was in Saudi, right, I could see the country changing while I was there, right? I was there for 3 different kings, right? So I was there when King Fahad was there. I was there when King Abdullah was there. And I was there with King, Salman, right? Who was Muhammad bin Salman's father, right?
Right. Okay.
Right. So, yeah, Salman is actually the king, but Muhammad bin Salman is running the country. All right. But anyways, I seen how the country changed, right? And as I'm watching, because you know I'm just a foreigner, whatever, and I'm just learning the people. You know, there's a big difference from when I first got there to when I left, right? So I'm seeing this country how it changed. And you know, I have a lot of love for Saudi. Mashallah, you know what I mean? But yeah, but at the same time, we can't fool ourselves and just think that everything is just everything, right?
Yeah.
So when I was there and I was teaching my students, I would tell them, you know, you watch in 30 years. I always say this, so you watch in 30 years, Saudi Arabia is going to be Bahrain, right? And they'd be like, Bahrain, teacher, no, alcohol free, teacher, no, right? My only mistake was saying 30 years. I should have said like 10, 15 years, right? Yeah. But that was my only mistake.
It's not been 10 years yet.
Yeah, exactly. Not even been 10 years. And they have like, you know, these now they have clubs and concerts and, you know, all the chi-chis are running freely and everything like that. And, you know what I mean? They're arresting scholars, all kinds of stuff is happening there. Yeah. Right? It's only a matter of time before they bring alcohol. But it is essentially, you know, Bahrain without alcohol so far. And even if you did have alcohol, I highly doubt that anything would happen to you. Right. So that was the natural progression because you could see it happening because Saudi was sending their brightest minds to the West and they were coming back like
with some bright ideas.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They come there, they send them to like Yasser Qadhi went to Yale and then he started getting all these ideas and stuff, right? So now they come back even worse, right? Because they're looking at Zadie like, you know, like I say in Saudi, there's a caste system. Okay, on the bottom is the Bengalis, okay, and then the Sri Lankans, and then the Indians, and then you have the Africans, right? And then you have, you know, your certain type of Arabs like the Egyptians, and then you have the Jordanians, and you keep moving up the ladder, and then you have your Syrians, right? And then you have your Black Saudis, okay. And then you have your white Saudis, and then you have Allah, and then you have white people. Right? So I said that's the yeah, exactly. Allah Mustaan, right? But it's the facts. It's the facts. Look at Saudi now. Look at Saudi now. You know what I mean? And the people want it like that. You get it? The people want it like that. So it's not something that they didn't want. You feel me?
History. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Allah Mustaan. Let me hop off of here, man. So Abu Barak could get and maybe I'll get off. Someone else can have a turn, man. Salaam Alaikum.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring him back on. 1 second. Let me just put the link out here. Yeah, people are laughing, but it's true. It's true, man. You know what I mean? So I put the link. You know, people are laughing, but anybody that you know, if you've been in Saudi for any extended period of time, you know how much they love themselves some Zaddy, bro. You know how much they love themselves some Zaddy. Like I seen white brothers with just high school, okay, open up businesses with high school, okay. Salaam Alaikum, Abu Barak.
Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me? Because I'm outside.
Yeah. Go ahead. What you got for us, bro?
Yeah, I'm a little bit late. I thought you was gonna be at 9 o'clock.
No, not today, man. I want to go to sleep early today, man. Inshallah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking at the notice. So, you know, today when I went to Juma today, and I'm in one of these big Desi communities here in New York, big Bengali community. I think it's the biggest in the U.S. So the Imam gave a khutbah today, and he was like, you know, during New Year's celebration at Times Square, some guy, he stabbed or he hit like 3 police with a machete. And I believe it's a white guy. He looks Caucasian, and they say he's Muslim, right? And he came from a different state. So the Imam was giving the khutbah talking about this, but he was like, you know, he said he went to visit one of the police officers that were hurt, who was stabbed with the machete on New Year's by this guy who claims he's Muslim and he's a terrorist or he supports Taliban, something like this. Then he was like, he jumped into like, you know, we came to America for opportunities that we don't have in our own countries. And I was like, you know, I'm like, yo, man, I'm getting tired of these cookballs. Because all their masters in New York are just cookballs are all like this every week. Every week, you know? Every big politician I'm in New York City, I met them in this masjid. Every big politician, right? So I'm like, they are just happy to be with these peoples. And the Imam is like, you know, since Allah gave us this opportunity, many of us will never become a doctor or have our PhD or our career or be engineers, except for we came to America and it gave us this opportunity, which we don't have in our countries. We should be grateful for this, and we should try to practice Islam just a little bit better. I mean, practice Islam a little bit more, be a little bit better Muslim, because Allah gave us this bounty in America. I was like, oh man, I'm tired of these cookballs, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Just 1 second, bro. I want either brother or both of them actually, Nakar and Hanif Bashir, to hop on as well. If you guys can hear me, hop on, inshallah. And I want to say walaikum salam to brother Nakar, right? And I want to say walaikum salam to brother Hanif Bashir, right? So I would love for you guys to join us as well, inshallah. Yeah, and about these types of khutbahs, you got to remember that this is part of the project as well, right? They're not looking at these Western countries as countries that carved up their own countries, usurped the resources from the countries, and just stole them, right? And are sending the brightest and the best from their countries to the West, causing a massive brain drain in Muslim countries. They're not looking at it like that. They're not looking at it from a strategic point of view. They're looking at it as, how can I benefit from Zaddy? That's all they're looking at it as.
That's right.
You know, so when they set up these organizations, they set them up as, you know, charities and whatnot. And because they're setting up as charities, and they have, you know, very intelligent people who know law and whatnot, that's why they invite these politicians, because they know that they can, as being said over here, they can grease their palms. They know that very well. They know that they can get some of that liberal money, right? You know what I mean? So,
and all these politicians, and all the politicians they bring to the match are all liberals, all of them.
Yeah, they're all liberals, you know, and it's been like that for decades. And now you're seeing this backlash from the children of these people who are now rebelling and accepting wholesale conservatism to fight liberalism, including white supremacy. They'll accept that openly, right? Because they think that somehow this is Islamic. You get me? So you have to reap what you sow. But us black people, right? We are the ones, we are our own brothers' keepers. We have to look out for ourselves. And the problem with us is that we are so busy looking after other people that we are not looking at the problems in our own community, and we are trying to this forever disease of integrating other people instead of trying to solve the problems with your own people. Brother Hanif Bashir. Brother Hanif, you with us? You have to turn off the YouTube. That's why there's an echo. Turn off YouTube, and then just keep the stay on the your StreamYard. All right. So turn off YouTube and then turn your mic on.
And unmute your microphone.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying anything? We can't hear you. Did you turn off YouTube? And you got your mic on? Okay, maybe log back in, inshallah. Okay, yeah, okay, we'll wait for you. Go ahead, Abu Bara.
Yeah, you know, when you say about us working to fix our problems in our community, and we can't waste our time with fixing other people's problems. You know, I was thinking today to do a live on this topic at the Muslim brothers, African American Muslims who spent 2 or 3 decades fighting each other, fighting other du'ats who look like them. And I look at some of these brothers now, they wasted years of arguing and debating, while the Desi community in America, the Arab community in America, where the youth in their community was in colleges, universities, and then some of them was actually studying Deen overseas, all preparing to build themselves the pie in the sky in America. And this same Desi community I talked about earlier, they match had been established since the early 90s. These people have like half the block now. The masjid expanded like 2 or 3 houses they bought, and they built a masjid. They bought a school. This is since the 90s. They bought a school. They built a school inside the masjid, and they bought a Jewish school and converted it into a Islamic school. Another Bangladeshi community down the street from them started out in the 90s also in the basement of a building with roaches and everything in it, a Quran school in the 90s. Now they own 2 or 3 buildings now. And they expanded their school into 2 or 3 buildings. A Quran school that teaches the kids Quran, Islamic sciences, and the academics is GED for them, right? But they own 3 buildings, not small buildings, big buildings, right? And they just opened up, I think 2 years ago, an all-girls school. And these people came to this country broke, right? Broke. It's the 90s now. It's this 90s. And I'm looking at all that black African American imams, especially from the Salafi community. We got nothing to show. Majority of all of them, nothing to show. And if somebody came from Saudi and dropped money on them to build this, they don't even have the education to do none of these things. They themselves don't have the education to do it. They don't have the education to teach. They don't have the education for the bank, for the accounting, banking stuff, finance stuff. They don't even have the know-how for none of this stuff. You know?
Yep. And that's why it's like as Brother Bilal is saying here, it's very, very, very important to stay on code. They have a code of conduct. That's why they can work together. They have a code of conduct. Every other community they have a code. We don't have a code of conduct, and we're Muslim. Okay, so we should be leveraging Islam to be our code of conduct, and that way we can get things done. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Sister Khadija. You got to unmute your mic, Sister Khadija, and turn up. Okay, yeah, can we hear you?
Wa alaikum salam.
What you got for us now, sis?
I'm just listening in.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. All right. So for us now, right, there is a lot of talent in the Black community. A lot of talent. A lot of educated people. And the reason why our talent goes elsewhere is because we habitually and consistently always find a way to chase the ones with talent and skills away from our community. You get me?
That's 100% right.
You know? So I mentioned this in a short reaction video I did with Brother Mufti Munir, right? That if you look at, for example, Imam Suraj, when he talked with Louis Farrakhan, who were the first people to basically lambaste him for doing that? Who were the first people to lambaste Sheikh Tahir Hyatt for speaking on a radio show which belonged to the Nation of Islam? Who were the first people to lambaste Shadid Muhammad for standing up for Black people? And who were the last people to say anything about Daniel Keegan?
You're right. They're the last one to say nothing about it. And some of their followers listen to him too. Some of their followers listen to him.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So for us now, if we refuse to have a code of conduct, then our destiny is going to look like the Handmaid's Tale. Okay, it's going to look like that. Anybody can come. Like this has been for the last 500 years now. Okay, anybody can come to Black people and get rich off of the labor, the wealth, the time, and the bodies of Black people, except for Black people. You get me? And it's because we do not have a code of conduct. And the reality is, if you're Muslim, you do have a code of conduct, but you put your dogma and your emotions ahead of the code of conduct, and that's why we can't get nothing done. Go ahead.
You know, we have that, you know, Dr. Amos Wilson. You know, he has a great book talk about self-hate and self-defeat. And I was reading and I was listening to one of his lectures where he said that Black people, for our psyche, how we are, you know, the self-hate, he said we have an identity crisis, inferiority complex, that's what he said, inferiority complex, that prevent us from doing what we need to do as a people. And I remember one time he was saying that even you have some Black people, they go and get the education, they go get the degrees, but they don't use the degree to benefit their people. Rather yet they use their degree to benefit the white people, their institutions and their structures, their institutions and their structure that's actually working against black people. So he was like, the reason why they're like that, because they go into these fields with these issues of self-hate, inferiority complex. They go and have these degrees, they go study, and they have the mindsetting of like the slave. So they're not benefiting their people no matter where they go and no matter what they do. Like I'm always going to say, the introduction to Salafi Dawah in America, right here in New York, they was promoting Imam Siraj them. No, you can't be with their masjid taqwa, because they're black nationalists.
Yeah.
While today in New York today, them same brothers who was preaching that, they don't have no masjid in New York, nowhere. They're Salafi masjids, but they're not the ones running it. They are visitors and guests in those other Salafi masjids here in New York, because either the Guyanese are running it, or some Arab is running it, or some African brothers are running it. That's the straight up truth. And this is because the self-hate.
And that's what happens when you have, this type of meritorious manumission mentality. You know what I mean? But we got the Sheikh Hanif Bashir. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, bro. How you doing? Your mic. Turn your mic on, bro. On your headset. It's on. It's on. The mic is on your headset. Its mic is on here. We can see the mic is on here, but it has to be on in your headset as well. Yeah, we can see you though. We can see you perfectly. And alhamdulillah, I know you can hear us. All right.
It might be something with his headset.
Yeah, I think it's your headset, bro. It's make sure your headset's not on mute. Check your headset. Make sure it's not on mute.
And it's plugged in your phone.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be back, inshallah. Hopefully. He'll be back. Yeah. Yeah. So, and meritorious manumission really fostered a lot of that crab in a bucket type mentality. You know what I mean? That type of crab in a bucket mentality where you must attack anything black. Before, you know what I mean? Because listen, we're not going to get along. If you look at even any Western country, generally there's two political parties holding up the system. You always have a liberal party and you always have a conservative party, right? That's a general flow, right? But they get along in order to keep.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Allahu Akbar.
Go ahead, Sheikh. What you got for us?
Not a single thing, man. This is out of my expertise. I'm just here to listen and benefit.
You got to say something, bro. You got to say something, man.
I came in late, right? So the topic is about what now? I know you were talking about some of the foreign Muslims and the changes in Saudi, but what's the main topic?
The main topic is that black children in Jamaica are being born at an 85% clip, unwed parents, and in the States it's a 72% clip, right? Unwed parents. And as a matter of fact, in the States, they did some witchery and trickery to fudge the numbers. So now what they've done, they described not out of wedlock. They don't describe it as out of wedlock anymore, but rather they describe it as two-parent homes. And what's a two-parent home? It could be anything. Okay.
Yeah.
It could be the mother and the grandmother. It could be just two people shacking up, raising a child. Right. It could be the alphabet people raising a child. Now they say now it's a two-parent home, and because they did that, right now they're saying that 68% of black children are born in which out of wedlock instead of out of two-parent homes instead of 72%. Right, so they're doing witchery and trickery now. But the point is that all of this is not something that is specific to black folk in the States. It is an international phenomenon, and it's a part of the global project to steer Black people into a matriarchal, dysfunctional society, because no society at all can operate with 85% or 72% or 68% of their children being born out of wedlock. It's not possible, right? So we as Muslims, we should be doing what? We should be calling these people to the truth in order to curb this debauchery. Because if you do not, then you and your children by default will be affected by by the hell that's coming, right? And we are not doing that because we are too busy involving ourselves in things that don't have anything to do with us, like this new thing that hit the internet by storm of attacking the Muslim leaders and whatnot. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with us. We have our own battles right here that we need to fight, right? So that's the basic summarized gist of it. And what do you think?
You know, when it comes to these issues, one of the things that I've learned from the older imams in our community and things like that is that you got to follow the money. Who or what has to benefit from this dysfunction? You know, we know that women are the highest spenders in any community, and when you have women who have the ability now to work, and then you have this propagation where they're convincing them that they don't need a man, so that means that there's nobody to really even check their spending. There is, even though it is, how do we say, it is a dysfunction that is inevitable, right? Having a woman or a single parent household, which most of it is female led, is going to lead to less successful children, but the socialist aspect of the society is going to benefit, because without there being someone to check the female when it comes to what to do with the money, because men spend less money not normally, and they think further ahead when it comes to building and how do you say, cultivating a kind of what is the word I'm looking for, like a
cohesive
legacy. You know, they think about legacy and stuff like that. Not just I'm gonna spend this because this is what I want to do now. They think about, okay, what's gonna happen to my kids, grandkids, things like that. While women, they're so into being comfortable. I mean, they can't. And that's part of their nature, that they try to get things and purchase things that they believe will lead to them being comfortable. And normally what happens is, if you're married, is that the man will be like, no, we can't afford that. No, we have this to do and things like that. Without that check and balance being there, the woman is left to just follow her desires more. And this is what, of course, they want, because, you know, they want people to buy stuff. And that's why the majority of advertisement nowadays are aimed towards women. And what's going to happen is you're going to have these women that are now encouraged to be single, raising men and women, right? The men are going to be the type of men that are going to be okay with the women in charge and leading and, you know, giving her the room to, I guess you could say, lead, for lack of a better word. And the only thing that's going to happen in a scenario, in a situation like that, is that things are just going to get worse. And for the men that are trying to do the right thing, they're not going to be left with much option, is what I'm seeing. And I've been trying to talk to a lot of imams about the situation, because even though this stems from a kuffar lifestyle and mentality, it is definitely affecting, first and foremost, the sisters in our community, and then trickling down, affecting, the children underneath them, which include male and female. So the brothers are going to grow up with a certain mentality, as well as the sisters or the females underneath those sisters are going to follow in their mother's footsteps. I don't see an immediate remedy for a situation like that. The only thing I could see that might be a solution is for brothers to focus on trying to build a healthy family with individuals that want to do the same thing. But what that means, unfortunately, is that the partner that might be suitable for them most likely won't be from the West. It's very difficult for a sister to course correct. It's from what I've seen. In fact, when the majority of them are really into a kind of a group effort at being in misguidance, it's kind of the strangest thing I've ever seen, where they're just okay heading and falling off the cliff. Yep. And each one is leading each other right off, instead of somebody saying, hey, we're going to fall off this cliff if we keep going in this direction. But they keep patting each other on the back. You go, girl. Do you, girl? And this type of mentality. And very few from amongst them are actually, muntabiha. They're actually awake and paying attention to, this is only going to bring us maybe immediate satisfaction, but it's a detriment in the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I don't know if you guys have any solutions other than what I've arrived to, but I would love to hear it, inshallah.
Well, you touched up on some very important points, right? Have you heard of the Moynihan report?
No.
Okay, so the Moynihan report was written by a man, I believe his name is Richard Moynihan, in the late 1960s, right? And back then, right, he wrote this report basically because of the black family structure, and he was saying that the black family is in crisis because 25% of children being born in black households are being born to single mothers. He was saying that back then. That was 25%. In 1982, there was a documentary done. Maybe some of y'all have heard of this documentary. It's called The Disappearing Black Family, right? It's a pretty popular documentary within black circles. It's called The Disappearing Black Family. And in this documentary, it's just basically following all these single teenage black mothers, asking them, do you want to get married? No, I don't need no man. All of them are saying, I don't need no man, right? Except for one, all right? Right? So, but anyways, then you get into a lot of the social engineering that has been inflicted against black people in order to destroy intentionally the black family, such as the war on drugs, such as a mass incarceration,
Planned Parenthood,
okay, and the taking over, or the taking over anything black culturally, like black music, black entertainment. And so now what we see is the normalizing of the single mother within black culture, and then black people think it's their culture, but really it's the enemy that is by inception and by force pushing these messages on black people to make them believe that it's their culture, and really has nothing to do with anybody's culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's by design, putting out the destruction of the black family. Now, if you look at the Moynihan report and what followed afterwards, in the U.S., and not just the U.S., mind you, it's a phenomenon that kind of spread throughout Western countries, where you see that the government now became the surrogate father for black children since the 60s. And now we are now reaching even the fourth and fifth generation of children born to single mothers. Right, we're reaching that point now, and we're seeing the fruits of this single motherhood in Pookies and Ray Rays and Pookishas, basically running rampant in the Black community like cockroaches with guns and spreading STDs and all this kind of debauchery in the Black community. Right, we see this now, the results of it of coming through. Right, so now here we are, 2023. Okay, we have literally the solution to all these problems in the Quran and the Sunnah, right? And what we have been doing as Black Muslims and particularly Black Salafis for the past 30 years is hardcore infighting, as opposed to going to the community and trying to leverage the Quran and the Sunnah to fix the problems in our communities. And why I brought in the Handmaid's Tale, right? I don't know if you read this book, right? But the Handmaid's Tale, it's basically a similar situation happened in this book, right? Where women were not able to have babies, so they have to now, by force, right, take women and put them into families, right, where they are trying to produce stable children and stable families, and having them, these handmaids, get impregnated by their elites, right? And they were going to take responsibility for their children, right, in order to raise them to build a better society. You know,
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So it can go either the way by the Handmaid's Tale, it can go by the way by slavery part 2, it could go the way by, you know, the whole black society ending up in perpetual chaos and anarchy, or we can call our people to the truth. You get me? That's my solution. And I know it sounds a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Like utopian almost, but it really is not. It's not. It really it isn't. You know, the if you look at the black community, why are they acting the way that they act? They're acting like that because they have been horrifically social engineered to act like that. And there are even studies that are saying that Black people have genetic markers from trauma all the way back from slavery. You understand? So if certain ways that we have, for example, why are so many Black people afraid of dogs? Right? Why are so many Black people quick to get angry if you stare at them too long? Right? Why are so many Black men horrifically impatient with other Black men, so much so that they will snuff the life of another Black man? But if they see a white person or white police, you know, they will do absolutely nothing to them. There's a study, and this is a true study, okay, right, that if a white child gets lost, he or she will be safer with a Black man than a white man if they get lost. And you should tell your white children to go find a Black man so they can take you back home. Why are all these things happening? And why is it, even after Islam, that we Black people will be the first ones to attack our own scholarship before anybody else? And it's easy to egg us on against our own scholarship. It's easy to egg us on against our own scholarship. Very simple, right? All of these things make a difference in having a cohesive society and a normal functioning society with strong family structure. All of it matters. It all matters. You know what I mean? It's all connected. You know what I mean? So what you were saying that about it's not you might not find what you're looking for in a mate in the West, that is real. That is 100% real.
Oh, yeah.
But who are the ones that are responsible for changing the way that your community runs? Is it the men or is it the women?
The men.
The men. The men. So we are the ones who need to work together to make those changes. And we cannot beg women to come on board. If they don't want to come on board, I have a saying, let those heifers go extinct, right? Just let them go extinct, right? If they don't want to come on board. But we need to take charge. We need to put profit over women and things of this nature. You know, we need to go out and, you know, basically level up ourselves.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, and we have to stay on code. We have to stay on code. You know what I mean? So,
oh yeah.
I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Nope. no, but I definitely agree. That, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be the men who are going to have to choose the hard road in order to get any change to start going in a positive trajectory. And the thing that is just that, you know, and that's just the reality of things. It's just that, you know, when I think about the casualties and who's going to be at the back end of that, which are the women, it's kind of sad, you know, to say that we can't bring them along with us. And, you know, because, you know, especially the way that I was brought up, you know, in Simpville, it was like, you know, you got to like almost like sacrifice yourself for the good of the women. So it's hard to see these women, like, basically, like, you know, you're going to have to like, just let them be, man. Let them live their best life, as they say. And, you know, do what you can to fix what you can.
100%. You know, we have been basically bombarded with simp culture in the Black community. Like, absolutely bombarded, right? From the music dating way back in the 60s, you know, you know, all the way up to some of these shows, you know what I mean? Like our sitcoms and whatnot that we grew up watching. You got me? So simp culture in the Black community is something that's been normalized, right? So many Black men have been killed because of a woman, are now in jail because of a woman, you know what I mean? And are being financially ruined because of a woman, because the women will take them, even as Muslims, they will put them through the court system. Oh yeah, as forms of revenge, in order to bankrupt them and to financially harm them and even have them in prison. And this is normal with Black people. You know, absolutely normal, right? So we are the ones who need to change that culture, right? Because you got to remember that this system, you know, is really, when you think about racism is about economics and control, right? That's racism, right? Where you have one race who is benefiting economically by the control of a different race. That is racism. You understand? So because we are, as Black men, are being controlled economically, and we are being controlled physically by our movements, by, you know, the so-called criminal justice system and whatnot, you know, they find all kinds of creative ways to lock Black men out of society, right? All kinds of like really, really creative ways to do that, right?
Yeah, it's hard for us to be financially competitive.
Yes, and only Allah can get us out of that, but Allah will not get us out of that unless we ourselves take the initiative, right, to get ourselves out of it. And of course it's possible, but it requires us to work together. And if we're not willing to work together and remain, I have a saying, you have to lose the argument to win the war sometimes. Not everything requires a response, right?
Yeah.
Just remain silent, stay on code, work together with your brothers, and you will see it. And you don't always, wake up early and make Allah and ask Allah for His help, and you'll see Allah will help us, right? How can Allah help us? Can you imagine? How can Allah not help us? Can you imagine now we have been in this situation for almost 500 solid years, and now Islam is coming, and you don't expect Allah to help us? Of course He will, but we have to do the work. Abu Barak.
Nah, Assalamu Alaikum. I was knocked off.
Yeah.
I think I think we need to have like a couple of professional people from all different type of fields, like Islamic fields, sociology, psychology, economics, and we need to sit down and have real talks on how to fix our issues, because we can't leave all the women, and there's a reason why we can't leave all the women, because amongst them sisters that are no good, and in between them, there are women that just need the right person, the right guidance. And I give you an example. I was talking to a sister yesterday. This sister I gave a shahada many years ago, right? And she has some issues. She got divorced. She has a child, and she was not in a bad situation, but she's not happy. She's in court right now. So I was telling her, I said, sister, remember when you got married? I said, remember you had your brother who was your wali, and your brother didn't want you to marry this person. And I told you that, you should let your brother be the wali. You said you didn't want him. You want the imam. And I said, see all the problems you have now? Been arrested in family court, all type of stuff, right? I said, all of this could have been prevented if you listened to your brother. So some of these sisters, they will listen, some of them, because they are dealing with the reality of all these bad decisions and what's going on in the society. They feel it first. Because listen, I'm divorced, right? I'm divorced. My kids live with their mom. She got all the stress. I don't get the stress. I could go to family court, which I'm in. I could fight for my kids. The court's still gonna give her the kids. So when she's with those kids, they're gonna be suffering together, all of them. So some of these sisters, they see what's going on. Some of them are also experiencing it. Either 2 or 3 things is going to happen. Either she's going to be more bitter, more hard-headed, more stubborn, and get the reality of that, or she's going to like, yo, how can I fix my situation? I don't like this situation, right? Some of these women out here, some of them are listening, right? Some of them are listening. So we have to have a framework on how to reach out to these peoples. Just think about it. In Islam preserved Usra. Sheikh Hanifi knows, right? Sheikh right here. If anybody don't know him, right? So the Asul in Islam is Usra. It's preserving the family. If you travel to the Muslim world, I don't care if the country is not practicing Sharia law. When it comes to family court and anything, they always got Islamic law. And you ask them now, even the Muslim countries have secular laws. When it comes to family court, they still have the Islamic law. You ask them why. They said women and children. They even going to admit it. It is the best way to preserve the rights and the well-being of women and children. So we can't really abandon them, even though I'm personally not married to any American women personally. I'm personally, I just had enough of it personally for myself. But at the same time, even though I don't like their behavior, I can't give up on them because I came from a woman from amongst them. You got me? So there's some of them. But we need
definitely. In terms of this gender war that's going on, I don't believe in this type of gender war that's happening between black men and black women right now. Some of it goes way too far. However, we have to look at the reality of the situation. And I'm a strong proponent that, the reason we are here, black men, we are here, and we are going through all these issues, and it requires a lot of help from Allah to get out of these issues and working together. And once we start, working together and actually staying on code, with what is required in the Quran and the Sunnah, then we will be able to pull people out. But our intention should be, in my opinion, to save ourselves first as individuals and save our families first. Because when you save yourself and then your families, the people will follow. There is no community without yourself, and there is no community without the black family. You get me? Right? But
yeah, 100% true.
We of course deliver the message and whatnot, and this is all important. However, if you look at what we're doing and the habits that we have as black folk, we are the number one consumers of entertainment and television, more than anybody else. Do we have time to consume that?
Nope.
No, we do not. That needs to be fixed, okay? We should be, every single one of us should be doing something for self-development every single day.
Productive, yeah.
You have something productive, especially the men. I was having this conversation with my son yesterday, right? Because my son, he's applying for university. And I was telling him, look, you are a man, and pretty soon you're going to be the man of this family, right? And being a man is not like being a woman at all, right? I told him, when you're a man, you have to do the things that you do not like in order to get the things that you like. A man's life is filled with being uncomfortable. You always have to be in a state of being uncomfortable in order to get the things that make you comfortable, right? And you have to understand that as a man. Black people are so traumatized, or especially black men, that we are looking for the comfort before the discomfort, because our lives are filled with discomfort, but not a natural discomfort. Our lives are filled with discomfort specifically because of racism. You get me? And because we are like that, we are always looking for a place of comfort, and we can't stay there. We have to stick together. We have to work together in order to climb out of this. That's how I see it. Brother Hanif.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. But like you said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا, and save yourself and your family from the hellfire.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have to begin with ourselves, and then our family, and then of course begins with knowledge, teaching ourselves, making sure that we have the proper understanding, so we can lead our families and then others into that which is correct.
And of course, there are there's still plenty of good black women around,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But we have to let these sisters know that you have to take the initiative to separate yourselves from the Pukishas. You have to do it, because the second you keep associating with these women, right, then you'll never. Yeah, exactly.
And women are by nature social creatures. You know what I'm saying? They follow the herd. So if you're with bad, it's gonna impact you, reflect upon you more so than if you were a man. So yeah, you got to get away from those people that have that destructive mentality and mindset, no doubt.
Yes, and Sister Tika, she said a great point. A man's cover should be in the home, and if it's not, then you know what I mean. A man's comfort should be in the home. When he gets home, that's when he should have his comfort. He should have peace in the home. He shouldn't have to be, because as men, especially as black men, when we go out to work, we're not just working, we're at war. You know what I mean? We are at war every single time we step out the house to go to work. And black women don't really see it, because we are doing the jobs that they are not doing. Black women in general, they have like a limited amount of jobs that they can actually do. I mean, there are some women that are in men's jobs, but we know very well that men are doing these jobs like construction, like being firemen, like being police, like being engineers and these type of things, you know, the things that build the countries, you know, and the society, right? These are the jobs of men. And sustain them, right? You know, women might be, some of them might be doctors, some of them might be lawyers, some of them might be, you know, nurses or whatnot, you know, but they are not doing what men do. They're just not. You understand? But as a black man, going into, for example, construction, right? That is war. That is war, because you're already in a racist industry that doesn't want you there to begin with. And the only reason why they're keeping you there is because they have to by law. Like police, like the black police. You're getting hate from your employer and hate from your own community, right? You know what I mean? Right? So when a black man comes home, that's where he should have his peace. But black women have this idea that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And as soon as a black man comes home, it's war at home too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we are the ones, we the men, we have to take responsibility for changing that, right? I don't necessarily agree with changing the women, because you it's like dawah. You don't make dawah, right, and expect to change the people by making dawah. The change has to come within the inside the person themselves if they want to change, right? You know, so you and black and men in general are logical, right? They can tell that if a woman is one way right now, chances are she's going to be like that when you get married to her, right? And and as black Muslim men, the mistake that we make is we are in a rush to get married for sex only. Only sex. We are rushing to get married for sex, and we forget the consequences of bringing a child into a world with a crazy lady, right? Forget all that, and forget that we might ruin our lives, you know, with this lady. Yeah, we are just trying to get our rocks off, right? For saying to say like that in front of Sheikh, but you know what I'm saying, you know, right? Right? So we ourselves, black men, we have to come together. We have to find like 4 or 5 brothers within our community that we trust and try to do business. I was listening to the Sheikh the other day, and he was saying that, you know, if you become an employee, that affects your Aqidah, affects your Tawheed. And he was like, it was asked why? Because Allah says in the Quran to go out into the earth to find your risk, to go out and find your risk. If you go out to find your risk, then you're depending on Allah. But if you go to your employer, you're depending on another human being, right? So it's affecting your Aqid. And I had to think about that. And I had to think about even the Prophet ﷺ, he himself, he wasn't employed by anybody, right? You know what I mean? You know, you know. And if you look at a lot of the Salaf, they themselves, they weren't working for people; they were working for themselves, right? So, you know. But anyways, go ahead. I talk too much. Go ahead, Sheikh. Go ahead.
You throwing it on me, but I don't have. I mean, you articulated about the issue well, man. I don't have nothing really to add to it. You know, alhamdulillah.
All right, Sheikh. I'll let you get some last words in, and we'll call it a night, inshallah. Go ahead.
I mean, I just hope that, you know, I've been ever since I've been back to the States and stuff. It's like I've been really looking at the aggression of the Muslim communities, specifically the one where I'm at here in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. And, you know, and I stay pretty close to the older brothers and things like that actually, you know, they were Muslim in the 70s and 80s and things like that, and they were putting in that work. And even though I didn't grow up in the States in the 80s, well, not the early 80s anyway. You know, so I wasn't around when all of that stuff was going on, but the things that they were able to accomplish, and I know that the economy is different now. You know, you can't really sell fish fry dinners like they did back in those days and expect to be able to build a masjid. We have to be able to adapt with the time. We have to, like you said, like we have to you know, step our game up. What we might need to do now in order to be successful and to create a successful community and raise the next generation with some type of fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, we're gonna need to do things that, you know, the people before us never had to do, whether it is, you know, education wise, whether it is traveling to find the risk. And these things are very difficult for a lot of us to do because that comfort zone. I mean, those things, that effort that has to be taken is going to take a lot of us out of our comfort zone. And it's a sacrifice. But like the people before us, they had to sacrifice. No, not the sacrifice that we are going to have to make, but it's sacrifice nonetheless. And we're going to have to do the same thing. You know, Imam Malik, what did he say? La yasluh hadhihi al-umma illa ma salaha awwalahu. Or something. I can't call al-Imam. I think it was Imam Malik or someone else from the Salaf. He said that, you know, this ummah will not be rectified except by that which rectified the first people. And we're talking about in general sense, not specifics, right? So like how hard work, determination, sacrifice was what made them who they are. The same thing will apply to us, and we just got to find how to direct that hard work and that sacrifice and put it in its right place. Of course, that's going to take hikmah, because that's what hikmah means, putting everything in its right place. And that's why we have to rely upon the old heads for that, because they are the ones that have the most hikmah. They've been through it and stuff like that, and they see where we're going. You know, so asking them for advice and, you know, how they think that, you know, certain things should be applied is one of the ways that we can try to ensure that we make the proper moves and hopefully after the tawakkul of Allah, success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair. To thank everybody who joined me today, everybody who joined me on the stream, everybody who joined me in the comments. I'd like to thank you all. May Allah reward you and bless you all. Jazakumullah khair. Tomorrow night we'll be going live again. As you know, we usually do lives on Fridays and Saturdays and sometimes Thursdays. And of course, we're going to have another banger tomorrow night. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward you all. Subhanaka wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.